Queens, cut from a different cloth. Now joining forces, helping you to elevate your personal brand. Yeah, I'm talking about Nicky and Moose, bringing you a never-before-seen perspective into the mindset, the mentality, the behaviors, the driving force, but more importantly, the stories behind the people and brands that you know and love the most.
Was poppin'. Welcome, Nicky and Moose. I'm Nicky. That's Moose. What's up, Moose?
What up, y'all?
And it is, I can't even say YouTube Live anymore, but it's live time.
It's the live show time.
It is the live show time. Everybody's jumping in. So today's a little bit different. All right. Today was that your background? Who was honking? Somebody honked?
New York rush hour traffic.
Okay, all right. That threw me off. I was
it'd
like,
be like that sometimes.
I miss it. We are now streaming on YouTube, Facebook, and I think Twitter. We're trying Twitter. I don't know why, but we're trying some new. So this is big. Wow. All right.
Wow.
Trying to be global. You know what I mean? Trying to be global. Even though YouTube has been very nice to us, we've gotten some complaints like, yo, you totally forgot about Facebook. And I'm like, yeah, my bad. I'm sorry. So we're trying something new. We'll see for like a week or two how that does, how the views are. But hold on, let's say hi to certain people. Ashley's in the building.
Ashley Schuler.
My jump rope buddy. Like I jump rope in my mind with her, but I don't jump rope. You know what I mean? But today, episode 53 dropped, okay? Fire episode. We brought back the breakdown, all right?
Yeah.
If y'all remember, for our day one people, we used to always break down at least just one person, right? We didn't break down everybody. Broke down one person. We brought it back. I'm going to see how y'all like it. So if you already heard the episode, please let us know what you thought. If you do like the beginning part being like the what's poppin', kind of current events, and then just focus on one individual. If you like that, let us know in the comments so we can read them and then see what we doing with next week and the following week. You know what I mean? But go check that out, and please share it with somebody. Okay? Share it with somebody. But, Moose, how we feeling?
Man, feeling really good. I am had a long day today. I was out actually in Connecticut for a training. So it's cool. It's cool to be back out. This is my third or fourth live experience in the last 2 months or so. So I think slowly but surely I've been going in the opposite realm of what you're doing and stepping out in the battlefield. Like, hey, hello, what's up? Yeah, I've been going in the battlefields a little bit. So no, that was a good time, man. It's good to kind of get out there and mix it up a little bit. So yeah, I can't complain.
Look, I just want you safe. You know what I mean?
No, masked up. You know what I'm saying? I'm making it happen. We're doing good. But I'm excited for tonight's live though, because I was, of course, trying to be more mindful of the calendar as we put some of these topics together. Because I'm like, man, a lot of the information that can be really relevant and helpful for people, and when people say like it's a timely message for me, I'm like, I know sometimes people are referring to their own personal season when they're thinking of that. But I also think that if we can talk about the calendar season with the information that we put out, that can be very helpful. So of course I'm looking and I'm like, damn, not for nothing, we're already through 9 months of 2021. That's crazy. Just to even think about.
Yeah, I don't know where it went.
Crazy, bro.
I really don't know where it went.
9 months and the years, of this year are gone. Now, fourth quarter, it's, in my opinion, probably one of the most important quarters, especially if you're not where you want to be, right? If you feel like your year hasn't been all that, or just even in your own personal life, your business, your brand, the whole nine, fourth quarter is so critical because you can cheat your way into a very successful new year just by kicking off or closing off this fourth quarter in a strong way. So I was thinking about it and I'm like, okay, well, what are some areas that we should be evaluating as we lock into this last quarter and then going into the new year? And of course, my training today was around the flight assessment. So I'm like, all right, you know what? It's only right to bring this in. And the three areas, Nicky, that I want to talk about tonight that I think are going to help us, we always talk about Tuesdays is the opportunity for us to focus on the person behind the personal brand, right? Like that's what today is for, what these Tuesday Night Lives are for. And the three areas I want to focus on that I think that if we spend some time evaluating, looking to adjust and grow in these areas, just about how we approach them can help us tremendously to close off the year and also start off on a high level is how we manage change, how we deal with conflict, and things that help us to feel confident, right? I feel like those three areas.
Say that one more time.
You can
say it one more time.
Yeah, got you. So yeah, how we manage change, how we deal with conflict, and then things that make us feel confident or just our own personal confidence. Like, man, how are you feeling from a confidence perspective about what
who's
you're
writing
doing?
that down? Who's writing that down in the comments?
Yeah.
I know somebody
Yeah,
missed
yeah.
it.
Come on
I know
with it.
somebody did.
Come on with
Write it in the
Come on
comments,
with
whether you're watching this live or the replay. Write in the comments.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I want us to kind of just take some time, like how we always do, take some time going through each one of those terms and really helping people to break it down. Like, okay, hold up. How do you evaluate this? Right? Where maybe just where you feel how you feel you're doing in that particular category, and then how we can help people to just make the connections and level up as a result of it. Because I'm looking at those three areas. Of course, I'm biased. I'm a high C or high air traffic control, so I tend to pick on words that start with the letter C. I'm not gonna lie.
I see you.
But I feel like, man, change, conflict, and confidence. If these are something that need to be a part of our everyday personal formula or personal growth formula to really keep things working, right? So let's start with that first one, man. I think we should start with confidence, me personally, because I feel like it's always best to start with, something that helps us to keep whole or feel complete. So that first one really is confidence. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't know that, actually, let me not assume that, but I don't know about you, but whenever confidence is like, what I'm saying, like I'm approaching a project or doing something and I just don't fully feel confident, I feel like everything else can be off-centered. Like it's just not really in line. And on the flip side of it, if you're approaching something and you do feel confident, like you're like, oh yeah, no, I can do this, or like I feel like I'm the right one for the project, for the role, for the opportunity. Just the energy, the aura, how things go following that are completely different. So I don't know, give us a quick review of your 2021 so far, and then talk to me about just this idea of confidence for you, right? Is it ever like a real thing of like, man, I don't feel as confident and here's what I do to get back, or it's something that you evaluate? And that's what I'm saying. Like, do you evaluate it? Is it more just a constant stroll for you? How do you interact with that first?
I hate you. Is it a constant stroll? Like you just deal with?
Yeah. You're just like, hey, I'm just confident. I don't think about this thing. What are you talking about? This is not me.
Okay, so yes and no. Let me start with the end part, right? Yes and no to the stroll. The reason why I say yes and no is because I stay in the places that I feel confident in. I don't really stroll to the places that I question myself too much in, right? Now, there's going to be things that I feel uncomfortable with, even in those lanes that I feel very confident in. But for the most part, I want to keep the confidence, because when I'm confident, I work the best, right? Now, if I'm not confident, I just really lean on the people who are confident in that. I'll find a pocket in whatever situation, find a pocket where I know I can add value or I'm really dope at. But in the totality of that whole situation, I lean on people because clearly I'm not going to act like I know everything.
I like that.
So with that, it's more of I evaluate what I'm good at, what I'm not, stay in that pocket because that's the best light of me. And the rest, just lean on other people, have an understanding of it, but just lean more on other people. That's my whole thing.
You know what's interesting is that I think that anytime we're asking to rely on others or we're saying, hey, rely on others, I always talk about ego and humility in that context, right? Because to some extent, you have to be able to put your pride aside because you're almost, and I'm not saying that you, and when I say you, I'm not saying you, but I'm just saying the general public, that you are making it known that you don't know something or that you're not confident. But it does take a level of humility to admittedly say, at least to yourself, hey, you know what? I don't feel super confident in my ability to take charge on this one. So to some regard, I have to ask for help, whether that is by me literally saying, hey, can you help me figure this part out?
Yeah.
Or by you, kind of like you said, actually putting somebody else ahead of you and saying, okay, yep, help me understand this, or I'm going to lean on you a little bit more for this one because it's not really, my forte, my swag. So talk about, just for you, like, what advice would you maybe give to somebody who struggles with just the ego part, like on some like, yeah, no, we not confident or we don't necessarily know, but we gonna pretend like we do because I'm not about to admittedly tell you that I don't know, right? Talk about that part.
So if this was a few years ago, I was probably that way. I was like, I'm not asking no questions. I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna spend days. I don't care. People will respect the dedication that I have to figuring it out. And then no one did. No one cares that you spend all these hours figuring it out on your own, because 9 out of 10 times they would have been like, why don't you just ask me? Like, you don't get extra kudo points, only to yourself. Yo, I did this on my own.
Wow.
No one else says it. So you have an ego problem with yourself. That's it. Like, it's you battling you. Now, where I'm at right now, I don't mind saying, I can't do this. Can you do this for me? Or how do you do this? Or what have you learned? What was the, like, shout out to Michael Stelzner, who is the head of Social Media Examiner, right? He was like, yo, you have any questions, like business-wise, anything? I was like, well, sir, you have one of the top podcasts in the business category. Give me something when you were on the rise, like what you would avoid, right? And it just went into a deep conversation of, hey, change this with your artwork. This show should be an extra pot. Like, he just gave me a whole whop of advice. And normally, if I hadn't asked for it, I would be like, I ain't here for it. But now I'm more like, this is going to get me closer to the big picture. And I don't mind asking people who have done it before me or even a day before me. Like, I'm done with the pride, the ego, and all that great stuff, because I'm not, me wasting time on that is wasting hours and years and just things I don't have patience for anymore. Like, if we're looking at if there's any type of comparison in this year, right? There's 20-some-year-olds who are millionaires.
Right.
I'm doing something wrong. And so before, I was like, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to do this. I'm going to get... No. Hello. Let me sign up for all the trainings. I don't mind. I'm not... Let me sign up for this. Let me sign up for that. I do not care. Help me. I'm pushing more stuff to Isaiah. Like, listen, long form, like the last podcast. I'm not going to have the time. You do a way better job. Please take care of this. Let me know. Right? With what we're going to announce later on after this live, Carl's taking care of it. I'm not even going to act like I'm going to do all these different promos. Could I? Yes. Could I do it as good as them? Absolutely not. So why am I going to do that? It's not going to work. So I really just, I'm really big on asking for help. I'm big on asking questions because I don't know what I don't know. And I can't figure stuff out of things I don't know. So that's me.
That's good, Nix. That's good. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, you could, and I don't know, what that process or what changed for you in the last couple of years, but I always just kind of thought about it. Like, I think for me, when I think of what you discussed or what you shared, it's like, well, if it's really about getting to the end result, why would you do anything that deviates from that? Now, clearly, in the beginning, you don't know. Like you said, you don't know that you don't know. So there are some things that you're probably doing that, well, you didn't know it would create that type of outcome. But at some point, I think it's so simple, and we're often in our own minds just complicating it. Like, no, there's no way it could be that simple. No, it's got to be much bigger than that. And sometimes it's as simple as that. Stepping out of your own way, putting your ego aside, asking for help where necessary, or allowing someone to take charge. And that doesn't necessarily make you less than or less valuable or less worthy because they're in charge, for that particular project. Like I connected with someone recently and they were like asking me, what do I need? And I was like, well, to be honest with you, this is actually a very low maintenance season for me. Like I'm in a season right now where I'm very low maintenance. I don't need much. Now, I'm not telling you this will be the reality forever, but I can afford to give a little bit more than needing you to give me because in this season, I'm good in these core areas, right? So, but it was just like for some of these things can change seasonally. It doesn't mean that you're not valued, you're not worthy or any of those things. And quite honestly, those are the things that often mess with our confidence. Like when we talk about the concept of confidence, well, what are some things that are going to mess with our confidence? When we don't feel appreciated, when we don't feel like we're good at something, when we don't feel like we're viewed as valuable. These are all things that play into it. But oftentimes, again, it's our own self-talk or ego that can manipulate it for us from side to side. I think more so for me too, Nix, what I realized, two things that mess with my confidence typically are, number one, other people's opinion, or me feeling like I'm going to get judged on my work, right? So it's like that in my beginning stages, I always felt like anytime I got negative feedback or any feedback that wasn't like, hey, that was awesome, I always took it a little bit too personal, right? Like I struggled taking constructive criticism to an extent, and that always messed with my confidence. It would throw me off side to side. Right? There was even a comment that was shared today, one that you texted me, and I'm like, man, I love it. You know why? Because I feel that what I shared, I stand behind it. And more than anything, I serve a population and a community of that exact demographic that I have nothing to worry about as maybe someone who's out of line or out of boundaries for why I said what I said. No, I said it clearly trying to make a statement about, you know what? No, pay inequality is a big part of the problem that was an issue back then, and it's an issue today. So yes, I'm not giving you exact stat by stat comparison, because if that's what we're doing, I wouldn't use that example. And of course, you missed the point. But more importantly, for me, I'm now starting to consider the source. Like, man, you know what you've done. You know the work that you put in. You can't just take feedback from everyone and consider it valid without first thinking about who is the source, who is this coming from. So as a result of that, now my confidence isn't swaying as much, right? It's not like, oh, someone says yes, you go right. Someone says no, you go left. It doesn't happen that. So really saying that, just to summarize and say, if you're struggling with confidence, and when you evaluate and think about it and you recognize it's typically because people are not in support, not agreeing with you, or not giving you feedback that you appreciate, please stop for a moment and consider who's giving you that judgment. Like, who is actually giving you something and say, like, man, do I appreciate this person's work? Or do they hold a high standard or value in my life? Are they creating any level of work that I can say, shoot, I respect their work, so, well, I'm going to be open to what they said. Right. So like your convo, with the gentleman, Michael, clearly, my man, you started off the phrase by saying, hey, well, you have a top podcast.
Yeah.
Like that lets us know, like, well, I'm looking for advice on how to improve my podcast. You have a top one. There's credibility here. I'm open to your feedback. So I just think, like, sometimes when we slow it down enough to really think about, why am I letting stuff that don't matter impact me at such a high level, when in reality, it's not valid, it's not credible. I don't need to waste that much energy. So not for nothing, I just think for some of us, we need to really think about that. And if you're on the other side of it, be proud of yourself. Like, you're not wasting as much energy giving your confidence away, you're giving your time and thought away because someone told you something that doesn't necessarily, stick or isn't valid. It's like, at the end of the day, everyone's entitled to their opinion. Just don't let it sway your confidence, because you need that, going into every piece. So I think for the confidence piece.
That was the transition. I was waiting.
Well, I saw you say so I was like, wait, maybe there's a question
I was
coming.
waiting.
So, sorry about that. Yeah, I was like, oh yeah, the confidence piece. Yeah.
No. I forgot my question. That threw me off.
I heard so. I'm like, oh.
It was getting there, but I was like, just so you know, I was about to say something, but I was still waiting for you to finish, and you're like, transition.
You.
So, okay. So help the people, because I agree with you. The source is important, right? And you don't want to get feedback from everybody. However, if you are doing something new for the people, feedback from them is important. So like even earlier when we said, hey, if you heard the podcast, let us know what you think, right? Because now I'm going to be open-minded to see what feedback it is. Now, what is the balance for you with that, as far as, okay, for real, I listen to them because they've done A, B, C, D. Right. But I do need to listen to the masses in this situation. Do you kind of have like a filter on how you receive that? Are you like, I'm going to take everything personal? Like, how do you go about that?
Yeah, no, I think I take it with a grain of salt, right? Because it's one thing for us to get one comment and automatically assume that that's the overwhelming feedback or the ideas of the majority. It's like, no, but that was one person.
Yeah.
Now, if you're getting feedback that is similar by multiple people and you're hearing it like once, okay, maybe that is rare. Twice, okay, that's a coincidence. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times now, and it's all about the same thing. You got to kind of go back to yourself here for a moment and say like, okay, hold up. Is there something that I'm not seeing? Like, is there a part of this that maybe I'm defending myself a little bit too hard, so I'm not catching the realness of the feedback? So I think, yeah, you got to take it with a grain of salt. If it happens a couple times, cool. Like, sure, don't let it sway you too much. But if it's repetitive and it's the same thing, almost ongoing, I think at that point you definitely gotta pay attention to it.
Okay, I'm with that.
Yeah. The last thing I will say real quick before we move on, I will say that confidence sometimes can also be a lack of practice. Right? Like if you don't have confidence in a particular area, it could be because you just did not put in enough time or shots up in that particular space. Right? Because I see even, and I openly say I was someone who struggled with lack of confidence for a long time. But then I look at, as my body of work increases, we've done God knows how many lives, how many podcast episodes, how many trainings, how many live conferences, how many, like, it's just so much work. And I'm looking, I'm like, okay, did I change? Did I automatically become something new that is magically more confident? Quite honestly, no. The only difference is I have put in so much time, I've put in so much work and practice behind what I talk that is so deep inside of me that I'm almost like, man, you have to intentionally want to mess up to even screw it up. But for the most part, if you can just be you and let the work be seen, or let your study time be seen, let your practice time be seen, you're going to automatically appear more confident because you're not talking about stuff you haven't done.
Right.
You're talking about stuff that you've lived and experienced. So yeah, I think that last piece of confidence is if it's a little bit low for you, and again, this is why we say, like, jump on and just evaluate. Like, it's not about a matter of right or wrong, good or bad. It's just you having a conversation with you and saying, hey, I'm like, where am I with this? So yeah, I think with that piece, Nick, is definitely, about sometimes you need more shots.
Okay, so what about those people that over practice? Like, there's nothing that they really could do to gain that confidence, and to the outside world, they're amazing. They're the best of the best, but for some reason, they always feel as if I need to study a little bit more. I need to do this a little bit more. We hear it all the time with extreme execution, small little plug, with the coaches. And there's some that have been in the program for a long time, and they're like, I'm not ready for a paid client just yet. I still got more studying on myself than to somebody else. And when do you cut the umbilical cord?
Yeah, it's a false reality, Nix. That's a great question, but it's a false reality because in your mind, you think of success as a complete thing. It's like, oh, there's an end line to it where I'm going to receive maximum intelligence, or I'm going to achieve a level of complete awareness, complete clarity, complete understanding and knowing of what to do next and how to solve every single thing. That's a false reality. What does it look like in real life? You have a level of core competency, things that you have mastered and sure about. But even with that level of mastery, you walk yourself into certain rooms or situations that you're like, okay, this is not like what I've done before, but based on that experience, here's how I can unravel it. So I think people who are still in that space, that regardless of how much time they've kind of unfolded or developed, they still think there's more. It's because to some extent you think that you are going to get to a level of completeness before ever going out there. And the reality is that's not how it works. You're always in the process. You're always still learning. You're always still growing and developing regardless of how much work you've already done or how much you've already accomplished. So like, I still feel that, like I don't think I've ever done a presentation that I was like, my goodness, I'm so good, there's nothing I can possibly improve. I'm just like, there's nothing, right? Not what I did at 120, not what I did today. If you asked me about any of them and you're talking about, okay, well, what needs to improve, I absolutely will figure out, a couple of things, at least 3 that I'm like, oh, I dropped the ball here. This could have been done a little bit better. This wasn't as plain or as smooth, because I'm still that person, but at least not at a point where it would stifle me or not let me to move forward or do anything. So it's like, yeah, that false reality of what success looks like is a crippling thing.
That's good.
Yeah.
You asked me
Shout
some
out
good
to you for these
questions.
questions, man. Yeah, yeah, you was wow. That was fire. I love those. I love those. Which one you want to go to next? Change or conflict?
I'm gonna say change.
Change. Okay, I thought you were gonna say conflict because all right,
that's
cool.
typical of me.
I got you. Now, but this next one I think is just as important because you see a lot of people and they're often, I don't want to say credited or maybe complimented, but we definitely notice their ability to adapt from one situation to the other. I think one of the things that I took away from just E and watching Maul, or maybe even just a lot of people in our team, at least, when I look at them navigating the pandemic, it seemed to me, like literally no exaggeration, that the entire world was in a pandemic. They were dealing with the craziness of COVID and everything else. And I'm looking at this group here and I'm like, I honestly couldn't tell a difference. Like, as a matter of fact, you're probably better in the pandemic. Right? You're someone else who created like your own digital world. And you were like, yeah, while everyone is dying in isolation, guess what? I'm doing pretty doggone good. Like, I'm actually better in this space. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, hold up. How are some people able to same exact time, same exact situation, same exact everything? It's not like the pandemic was only in New York, but not in Virginia, or only in California, but not in Michigan. No, it was for everybody.
Right.
But some people thrived. Other people were silently suffering or suffocating. So it's like when you start to really evaluate that, it's okay, are you being too rigid to how things used to be, how you wish they were, or hope that they return to be? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's all about.
First of all, you're not gonna speed past that. Like, you didn't just say what you just said.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. Say that again.
I'm just saying, are you being too rigid to how they used to be or how you wish they were, because right now maybe doesn't seem so favorable, or you're not open to change, right? Like, that's a big piece. So I guess, again, just want to talk with you about your experience. Like, how did you do it? Because legit, that's your life experience there, where you seen the whole thing shut down, the lockdown, people were navigating and treating it how it was, but you instantly adjusted on the spot and were like, okay, I'm going to set up this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and started to create despite of all the uncertainty. How did you do that?
So you have to still make yourself a need and not a want in any season, right? So for me talking about personal branding and content, like, that was a need, because now we can't go outside. We have to look at content. We have to look at social media. We have to look at websites. We have to look at all these different things. So now the information that before seemed like, we outside, I see the value in it, but it's not like a super need. Now all of a sudden became a need. So I was like, bet, the things that I was doing already, let me double down on it. Let me now create a bigger community. Let me now have a little bit more time to create the content that is going to last longer than me. Let me take advantage of this time, because the skill that I have is something that I have to make sure that people know that it's a need in this time. And then even after, when people start going outside again, you're still going to need it, because there's some people who still live inside, or something can happen again. Now people are like shook, like, oh snap. Like, what was it? What was it, yesterday when Facebook and Instagram went down?
Oh yeah. Yesterday, yeah.
And we'll talk about that on the podcast. But It went down, and now people were going crazy over it, right? Now the new need, yo, have you built a community? Have you built your stuff offline so that when these platforms are down again, you have no worries because you can still sell and give your content to your tribe members because you've grown something off social media. So like with any change that happens, I'm able to adjust to make it into a need. I just have to show up. That's it. I just have to show up in a virtual way. Now, when we get super, super outside, now I have to make a decision of, are we back outside? Like, am I doing different events outside? How are we doing this? Am I bringing back the masterminds? Like, now I have to adjust with what is happening and what's going to happen. But the pandemic, for me, it was like, yo, I've been doing this. Now you have no choice but to see me because you know I'm the most consistent one. I'm not jumping on. There were some brands that just jumped on and didn't hit because we're like, who are you?
Right.
Now, if you look at even like a DJ D Nice, right? He already had credibility. He already had this whole I DJ, I love doing this. So when he did it online, everybody was already a go for it. Versus Swiss and Tim had credibility. They've been producing. They've been going back and forth. So when they did a battle, it made sense. If you've already been doing something, it's about a season. Your season's going to come, and are you ready for it? And are you going to maximize in this particular season?
Wow. I don't know if I have anything to add to that. Yeah, for real. Wow. I don't know if I have. Kay, let's see. Kay said, "Can I hire you, Nicky?" I don't know that you're for hire. Are you for hire? I don't know.
We got a big announcement at the end. Stay tuned. You know what I mean?
Stay tuned for the announcement. Stay tuned. Now, but for real, what were you thinking? Because I think like when I think of change or why it might be even difficult to stay consistent during some of those seasons is because you feel like, yo, am I even doing the right thing that one day my turn will come, right? Like I can understand if you are just going through a rough patch or you're still trying to figure out. But I think part of it too is uncertainty. Like it's not that you don't want to be consistent, but maybe you feel like what you're doing is not going to hit. Was there something for you that you was like, nah, it's just a matter of time? Because like, again, you know, we talked about even with the podcast where you were saying something, yo, it's working. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm just gonna do it. You know what I'm saying? But what did you see? What do you see that allows you to know like, okay, you know, it's just a matter of time. I'm gonna stay in this season. I'm gonna adapt. I'm gonna adjust. But I'm gonna keep doing it in a way that helps me connect the dots at some point or another.
So I think everything could work if you actually spend the time, right? I think there's not much that is an instant fail or you're just doing it and no one, but like you're always going to have a crowd of people that's not going to believe or doubt or say, you may need to give this up, right? But we don't see the vision like you do. So it's your job for the person who has the vision, for the person who's doing something new, to continue until it's normal for us, until we see what you see. Now, that could take a few weeks, a few months, quite a few years. You know, it just depends on like how you view things, right? So if I ever doubted if it was going to work or not, I fully didn't buy into the vision of my own stuff.
Yeah.
There's things that you have a full vision about and no one can tell you different. They just don't see it yet. But if you are already starting with, this could work, this may not, not really sure, you haven't even bought into the full vision. You may have saw it, you thought it was cool, you could possibly do it too, but it's not really your true vision. Or you're trying something new out of the blue. Maybe God talked to you, and now you're like, because you don't fully buy into the vision that he gave you. So that's just a whole different situation where I don't necessarily feel that anything that I've came up with, that I didn't have the full vision and continued to go. Everything that I'm still, the podcast is still going. Period. Why? Because I have a full vision of it, right? And I'm bought into it. The things that I do on social media, completely a go. The things that is being created now, it took a minute, but that vision was a long time ago, and now it's a complete and ready to go. Other stuff, it may be somebody else's vision, and I haven't fully bought into it.
Hey, you said a long time ago. Define long time, because for some people, a long time could be 2.5 months. How
Like
long time was your long time?
2018, something like that.
I love it. Yeah. No, that's good. That's important though, because I think, and I think there's a quote out there that talks about how much we underestimate, a year of consistency or 2 years or something like that. So even 2018, you date back, you're talking about 3 years. And it's funny because I feel like there are more people who are starting to like be in tune with what's happening now. It's like, oh, I guess you just came up today. This is great. It's like, actually, let me take you back about 10 years, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll kind of help you paint the picture. So it's like, again, and I not to kind of like promote our own show in a sense, but I hope that this live show can continue to be like a breeding ground for creatives and entrepreneurs, because we're probably the most self-critical of any other population out there, that it's like, sometimes it's just good to sit your butt down and listen to some of these points and say, okay, what side of this am I on? Like, am I on a healthy side of this, or am I on an unhealthy? Do I have a healthy relationship with constructive criticism, or do I have an unhealthy relationship with it, right? Because these are all the things, like we said, that can ruin your confidence, that can ruin your ability to navigate change or have hope and optimism in the future. Because I think that's a level of it as well that's not talked about. I don't know that anyone ever talks about hope, optimism, faith when it comes to change, because we just think about it like, no, I just want it done my way, or I see it a certain way. But no, I think it's also a testament of your hope, your vision, your faith and all that good stuff, because what if what is changing is going to be better for you than what you currently have? And it's almost like a test. Like, I can't give
First
you.
of all, you're not gonna speed past that. Like, you didn't just say what you just said.
I'm just saying, like, I didn't even think about it this way, but like literally as we're talking about it, I'm like, hold up. What if it's a test? What if it's like, a test from the creator or the man upstairs to be like, okay, I actually have something better for you, but I'm going to test you through change. I'm going to see if you're willing to adapt and walk behind me and do it this way. So it's like, this is a completely different approach to look at change, and you're stuck to your old ways. Why? Because it satisfies you. Or again, how you've done it or how you're used to doing it. So again, I think it's a season for us to just be like, all right, I'm gonna be open. I at least want to be receptive. I'm gonna give you a listening ear. If you're recommending something to do it differently or change it up, let me listen. Let me see what's up, right? Let me not just shut it down because whatever, it messes with my aura, my consistency, whatever. So it's just it's one of those things, man, that I think is important to talk about as well. Shout out, big shout out to everyone in the chats though. I see the chats is coming in heavy tonight, which I really appreciate. Yeah, It's always really, really cool to see what's happening under, in the chats and the feedback. That's always really cool.
Flowing. All right, what's the last one? What we doing with the last one?
The one and only conflict, man. Conflict. So big, right? So I've looked at conflict because, we're in a season where, at least if you attended 120, streamed it, listened to not this last episode, but the one previous to it, and we talked about the main theme that was kind of talked about at the conference, and it was all this idea of being demanding.
Yeah.
And, you know, funny enough, I had a really great conversation with Carl yesterday, and I just called him like randomly. Like, we're in this thing where we're like, okay, let's try and keep the momentum from the conferences or whatever going. Let's just check in daily, right? So I called him randomly yesterday, and he asked, you know, I'm checking in with him. So he's like, how are you doing? And I don't know what happened, but I was just like frustrated. And I'm like, oh yeah, you know, I'm just kind of this, and that. And he went on a tangent, Nick's like, yo, for real, I hadn't seen Carl in this form in probably forever. Let's just say that.
Probably forever.
Yeah. In about 45 minutes, he just kept going about like, yo, you gotta go back to what we originally thought of. And what I've discovered for me is it's not that I don't like conflict, but in a lot of cases, I lower my standards because I don't want you to feel that if I go back to you, let's say, for example, we're working on a project together and there's something that you're responsible for handing over to me. So I'm like, okay, cool. Nick's, this is what I want by this and day, boom, and you hand it over. And I'm like, this doesn't meet the mark, right? So because I may be worried about how you feel, I don't want to be a bother or a burden to you to add more work to your plate because I know how much you have. I'm trying to protect you or whatever it is. I avoid telling you the truth or addressing something that I think could be a problem, which is like
tech issues.
Hey, right. Any of those things beyond that, right? Like
right.
Just anything in general, like, hey, can you do this over? Or, hey, I'm sorry, this wasn't what I expected or what we need. So a lot of us are literally struggling to be where we want to be because of situations like that to us appear like conflict. They appear like challenges with people we may love and care about or people that we work with, that it holds us back from getting to that next level. So again, in that fourth quarter evaluation, I'm like, okay, well, what's another area for us to upgrade or level up on? And I'm like, quite frankly, we got to figure out how to be able to approach these situations that even look and feel like conflict. But at the end of the day, it might not be because, you know, I think of many people on our team where if you were to just tell them like, hey, can you make some of these adjustments for me because this wasn't really whatever, they might be like, oh, okay, no, got you. This is great. You know, or like they won't make a big deal out of it. So let's just kind of break that down a little bit. I don't know, you know, your process or your methods for approaching what may look like conflict. How do you navigate that whole situation?
So I'm bipolar with this because like I like conflict, but I care about people's feelings. It's the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So like prime example, because like Nick is here, so I can use Nick, right? So from a business situation, I'm like, and from a friend situation, I'm like, I don't know if I should tell him this, right? But it has to be said. So I have to try to find a way to say it that doesn't hurt either one of those relationships. Like, I value the relationship, but I value the work. So it's very conflicting at times. Now, that's if I have a relationship with you, right? If I don't, if it's just purely like, let's say I met you at 120, you were a volunteer, right? And I needed something done. I'm going to ask you, regardless if you're busy or not. You could tell me I can't do it. Fair. You could tell me you can do it. The thing is, I won't know unless I ask. I can't assume you are super busy because you may find time for me, right?
Right.
Now, like when it comes to us, when you say something that is conflicting with what I do, I respect what you say. I may not agree, but I'm going to go with it because at the end of the day, we have the same goal. And so it can't just be my way all the time. So when you say, oh, hold on, let's try this. I'd be like, that don't even make no sense, but okay, all right, sure, we could do it, right? And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I at least, took your opinion, and though you didn't want to say it, I have to create an environment that allows you to say it, And sometimes when we kind of struggle with asking people for help or coming at them with some feedback that they may not like, it's because they never created an environment that felt warming enough to do that. And I know, as myself, my lovely New York self that just really doesn't care about a lot of things, right? I don't necessarily leave that open for certain people, which is good and bad at the same time. But it's bad because for the people that I do want them to ask me for help, I do want them to tell me what's wrong and what's not, I didn't create it for them. And so they may struggle to be like, yo, that's crazy. Prime example, all my little teen people will laugh at me and all my friends. Nobody told me I was fat. All right? None of y'all. When I was chubby wubby, none of y'all said anything, right? Why? Because I didn't leave an environment where they felt like they could be like, so did you go on your walk today? Like, did you, like, how many cookies did you really eat? Like, maybe you should just share it. Like, I ain't getting none of that. I got all the encouragement of being chubby. You know what I mean? And so I had to, tell me when it is bad. Now Nick is like, okay, I'm on you. That's it. If this is what you want to do, because now this is the second time that you say I hate all my friends because y'all let me be fat. Because I've said it twice. Because they let me be fat twice. I don't understand them. Right? But instead of, for me, and I'm looking at it from a receiving end, right? Instead of me getting mad about like them not telling me, or some people like struggling with a project and all they could do was ask me, right? I have to look at myself and be like, yo, I didn't create that environment. I didn't. Now from going to the conflict, it just depends on the person for me. If I have a relationship, it's a bit of a struggle and I may get a third party. Like Carl is always my third party person. Like, come talk to them with me. Like, please. Because I will get pissed and I don't want to ruin the relationship. Right? So that I'll lean on somebody else. But if it's somebody I'm cool with or don't know, bring the conflict. I could battle with the best.
Yeah, that's interesting, man. It's crazy to just hear how different people even process and think about conflict, right? Like for you, it's a relational factor. It's like if I know you or we're close, we have a relationship, or I don't really know you, that can kind of determine what it is. For me, as I evaluate kind of my approach to it, I think there are a few things. The first one being respect. And I know somebody's listening to this like, wait, what does respect have to do with conflict? Well, for me, the way I was raised just culturally, respect is it's put at such a high level that you're like, I'm gonna respect everybody. I'm gonna respect the cat. I'm gonna respect the carpet. I'm gonna respect, I'm gonna respect everybody. So there's always this discomfort with conflict because you feel that if you're being too stern, too aggressive, too needy, too pushy, then to some extent, I'm being disrespectful.
Right.
And that was a big kind of like revelation for me and almost like makeover that I had to go through. It's like, you're not being disrespectful. You're just being true to your standards or stern about your boundaries and the things that you want. So if you're going to become better at navigating conflict or just become a problem solver in general, because you want things to improve, it's a little bit of not necessarily yelling, becoming angry or being mean, but can you at least be true to your values or stern to the boundaries that you've set. It's like it's a little bit of that. So I think for one extent, that's one level of it. The other part that I'm still trying to figure out is now totally different. It's on the side of, and maybe this is more relevant to like closer relationships, I guess.
Right.
It's on the side of, I think that there are some of us who are so clear on making the solution, the goal, or the objective the most important thing ever, right? Like, you know what? If it comes down to this way or that way, I'll choose the way of what gets us to the solution, or I'll choose the way of what gets us to the goal, even if that's not my way. Now, it's not anything to do with ego or pride or anything like that, but I'm just someone who loves the work, who loves the process. So it's like, if I have to make a decision to maybe not do it my way for the sake of the outcome, I'm always willing to make that sacrifice. Right. So it's challenging for me, and feel free to add your take on this, where it feels like there are certain things that are done that add layers to the problem and not the solution. And I'm like, hold up a second. Like, what are we trying to accomplish here? I thought the goal was a solution. I thought the goal was the finish line. Yeah. Why are we adding things that make it seem like we're almost moving backwards, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't think they watch this, so I'm good. But like we're working with some companies now, big companies. Yeah, we're good. So maybe they do. I don't know. But working with some big companies now, and starting to run into these walls, like, okay, hold up. Do we not have the same goal here? Is it not a cross collaboration to finish the project? Yeah. How are we adding and changing things that bring us back or further away? Now, of course, you got to be like, well, as an expert in the flight assessment, well, what do you know? Yeah, I understand. Some people are about quality control, and I understand delays because of that.
Yes.
But the political stuff?
Oh, yeah. You don't like politics. Moose does not like politics.
Help us with that, Nix, because that's the part for me that I'm just like, it doesn't make sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, to me, it's like, it doesn't make sense. This is supposed to be about solution, outcomes. I'm cool with navigating conflict in a professional way. Mm-hmm. But when we start playing these gray area type games, it don't make sense to me. So how do you deal with that?
So from my experience, politics normally come from the control issues and the power issues, right? Now we're starting to be petty with what can happen, what can't. Are you on this person's good side to make sure that it can happen? If not, your road is a lot longer than most. It's the politicking. Who's closer to the person on top? They may have control issues. It is what it is. For those people who do not like playing the politics game, like Moose, don't listen to this. Okay? Because what I'm going to say is, depending on your career, your line of work, what you're trying to do, the goal, everything for me is a game. You got to play the game to make sure you get to the finish line. Maybe that was me playing video games at a very young age, so now I think everything is a game, right? But there's certain moves you have to make. There's certain levels to it. And if you don't play the game in the scenario that you're in, you're probably going to get left behind or very frustrated, or you're going to say, F it, and I'm gone. And in which you spend a lot of time to just say peace and deuces. Now, I get it. Some people's like, it's my peace, blah, 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 blah. Not to blah, blah it, but you know what I mean. But when it comes to the politics game, you really have to have the goal in mind. You have to be friends, or not be friends, be cordial with those people that you wouldn't be cordial with in real life. Because it's a game. It's not real life. This is the scenario you're in. So if you do not put real life principles and values into a certain scenario which has politics, you're going to be fine. The problem is we're great people and we have values and principles that follow us no matter what the scenario is. So it's conflicting. It's like, how are you telling me to do this and forget about this, but this is who I am and I shouldn't change for anybody? Fair. Not asking you to change. I'm asking you to play the game temporarily so you can then put your principles and values into it, because now you have the control or what you wanted to do, right? It's a very frustrating game. It's not for everybody. So if you're not good at politics, go find somebody who is. Moose does not like politics. He leans on me for that. So I shake hands and kiss babies with people that I would not normally do. Why? Because we have to do this. And if we both are this way, it's going to be a long journey that neither one wants to deal with. So I can play the politic game. So you just have to look at it. Am I that type that can solely focus on the goal, solely focus on the position you want, on the amount of money you want to make, on the gifts and materialistic stuff that you need? Are you that type that could solely focus on that and everything else is just a game? Or are you not very interested in that? You have to make that decision and move accordingly.
There you have it. There you have it. Play the game.
It's a game.
Play the game.
It's a game. I mean, that was a good talk.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. No, I like that. This was dope.
Listen, first and foremost, shout out, stay, do not go. We're not finished. Do not go nowhere. Stay right there. Actually, share this with like 2 or 3 more people. How about that? Okay. First and foremost, please listen to episode 53. We just dropped it. Okay. Now I actually have a question for you. For all the viewers right now, regardless if you're live or watching the replay, something came to our laps and we're having conversations and we want to bring you in this conversation. So I'm assuming you like this live, right? Yay or nay? We may, based off the comments, I feel like y'all may have liked the live. Now the conversation is, do we take this live and make it into a podcast? Do we take this particular show and create a new Nicky and Moose show only dedicated to the lives? We'll call it something else, right? But for those people who may come late, who don't want to necessarily sit for the whole hour, but would love to listen to it, love to listen to the replay, catch all the other ones, what do you think about making this live show into a podcast? You let us know if this is a good idea or bad idea. So yes or nah. You let me know. Oh, so hold on. I didn't even finish my sentence.
They came in pretty quick.
Right. I didn't even finish my sentence. Some said chess. We got yes again. Podcast. Okay, so for those, now let's have the real conversation. Hello, let's look at me real quick, okay? So are you telling us that you will listen to the regular podcast, Nicky and Moose the podcast, where we do the celebrity and influencers brand and business side, and you will listen to this podcast? Is this what you're saying? Yes, I will listen. Type 2 if you will listen to both. Okay? Type 2, whether you're watching this live or in the replay, however you feel like doing this. Type 2 for those people who are saying, yes, make it into a podcast, right? Type 2 if you will listen to both, because that's our concern. Like, if we do a whole new show, will that take people away from the regular one? So, and we talk about two different things. What we talk about on the live is different than when we do on the podcast, and vice versa. So, everybody's saying yes. This is look at this. Okay, I see y'all. Winton, yes, we'll listen to both.
I love Ashley. Ash said, I have to think on this. I have questions. I love it.
Ash, ask the questions.
Oh, that's good.
And shout out to our Facebook people. I see y'all. They say, yes, that would be cool as well. Aaron said, I'll support both. Look, I am all access. Shout out to Alexis. She's the one that was in my DMs. Yo, or I think in the squad, like, yo, and I listen to all access. You know what I mean? We got the air horns. Jasmine said. So we got a lot of. Hold on. Real quick. There's still another announcement. I just want to, we go to you guys first about this. All right. Oh, we got Inky in the building. Shout out to Inky. Continue adding value. Hey,
Brother Ink.
Love Ink. I promise you, Ink is like top 2 of my favorite people. You know what I mean? Ashley, look, I found it. I gotta think on this. I have questions. Ashley, if you want to text me your questions, or if you want to put them out here, Kat said, wait, we'll still be live. So yes, so this is what we're doing. So it's still going to be live every Tuesday, right? But there's people who don't necessarily like sitting down and watching the whole thing, right? They may catch a few, or they'll just really enjoy it in the audio sense. So we already understand people like video, people like audio, some people like both. So yes, we'll still do live, but we're realizing we have a strong audio audience. So yeah, it's like Cosby in a different world. Is that a good thing or bad thing? It's a good thing, bad thing.
I don't know. It depends when you ask.
Right. You can't say Cosby right now.
Yeah, it's one of those things. A little interesting. So
oh my God.
It depends on when you're making the example, All
right. So I'm seeing a lot of 2s. I see some people that's like, I like them separate. So we have more discussion. Now, here's the thing. Here's the last announcement, and then we're gonna be out of here. Second announcement. I love Moose. I just wanted to say that. I love Moose. I don't know if I told him this week.
Back.
That's one of the announcements. I love Moose, right? Now, something big is happening next week. So what are the third announcement that we're on? Nicky and Moose, this live stream is going to get moved to 9 p.m. only next week. Only next week. The reason why is because I'm letting it pause. We're doing a summit. Hey! We're doing a Monetize Your Brand Summit, okay? Next week is going to be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I believe. It's a 3-day summit. It's an hour of your day, okay? Hold on. Let me get where it is. Where is it? Nick, drop the link if you can. I'm going to get it real quick. But if you go to deeperthanthebrand.com/summit, right? It is a free 3-day summit. Free, okay? We're going to go over how to create viral content. We're going to go over digital courses, and then how to make money with your brand. Okay? It's a big deal. It's a big deal. All right? It's a big deal. If you are, he's like, my bad, I'm late. I'm like 15 minutes behind. What? Oh, Jesus. This is why I can't rely on Nick. You know what I mean? This is why I can't. I love him. So I'm putting it up on the screen real quick, and then I got something to show you. Okay? I got something to show you. Right here. deeperthanthebrand.com/summit. 3 days. An hour of a day. It's free. It's going to be with me. It's going to be with Carl. And it's going to be with Jose. Right? It's going to be so fire. And, hold on. Let me see if I got it. Hold up. I got another surprise. I just like giving y'all surprises. I don't know why. Y'all ready? And, this is what it's about. True or false? In the past year and a half, we've seen the rise of personal brands. And we've seen an abundance of content come out from these personal brands. But have you ever sat and thought about, how are they actually making money from this content? We look at personal brands like a Dr. Eric Thomas, like a Inky Johnson, like a Toby Nwigwe, like a Jamal King, and many more that have mastered not only creating content, but monetizing it in ways that we've never seen before. There is a formula that people are not teaching on a regular basis. They may sprinkle it here and there, but they're not teaching how to take your expertise and create a product from it. They're not teaching how to make a bag / how to make money from creating content. And so I spoke to the team. We said, we have to dedicate 3 days to that. A 3-day online summit, monetize your brand summit. And in these 3 days, we're going to break it all the way down. Day 1, we're going to talk about how to create that content that catches people's attention, right? On day 2, we're going to talk about digital course, how to take that expertise and create that content that people will actually pay you for. And then day 3, we're going to break it all the way down, how to get paid with content. But the only way you can get into it is if you register. Click the link, because it's finally time to stop just creating content just to create content and actually make some money